Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Top Corner or Rosette. Thank you so much for your support so far, your likes, your comments, your shares. It's been greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. We set a goal of 300 views for our first episode. I think we're on 210 now, so we're doing really well. I think we'll set the same target for episode 2, so 300 views. That sound about right for you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it'd be great to get to 300, wouldn't it? Okay, great. So episode 2, we are doing predictions, aren't we?
We are, yes. So these are early predictions. Obviously, we're basing it off what transfers have happened so far, new managers that have come in. I think we will do another predictions video, won't we? Closer to the
Early
season
predictions
starting.
this is, yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking we're doing early predictions for you guys just to see what we think now from the Premier League and the Championship. And then basically what we'll do is once the transfer window's shut, we'll do another one before the season starts. I think the idea is that we'll look at, what we've done then, see what we do differently. I can imagine there'll probably be some changes based on transfers in and out. It'll be good to have a comparison, won't it?
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. So we're doing Premier League first, and then we're going to dive into the Championship, and then we've got the exciting fixture release for the Championship. Let's get the board up. So we're going to have mine predictions on the left, yours on the right. Let's start with the bottom 3 relegated teams. So I'm just bringing it up now. So I have gone for Burnley to finish last, Sunderland 19th, and Brentford 18th.
Brentford? What are they doing down there?
I don't know. The reason I've gone for Brentford is because obviously Thomas Frank's gone. They're going to lose a lot of their good players. I think Mbuemo's pretty much nailed on going to Man United.
Signed and sealed, nearly, Lukey. Signed and sealed.
Nearly. So, yeah, Burnley and Sunderland, obviously the 2 teams that have come up from the Championship. I think Leeds being the third are slightly stronger than the other 2. I've got Brentford to go down, which is obviously they've been in the Premier League for a few years now, and they've all been sort of mid-table and pushing towards those Europe places. But I have a bad feeling for Brentford this season.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I haven't got Brentford that low, but we'll get onto that when we get to it. But I partly, I agree with what you're saying. I don't think they're going to do as well as other seasons. So I've gone with Sunderland, Burnley and Wolves. So 2 of the ones that you've got, I've gone for the same. I think Burnley and Sunderland, similar to you, Luke, they're probably the worst 2 in my eyes from what I've seen, out the 3. So they're going to struggle. And most teams that come up do struggle, don't they? You get the one-offs that have a really good season. I think what I've seen in the past, which is, typical to Championship to Premier League sort of transition, is that if you survive that first season, you can end up staying up for a few seasons. But that first one's always really difficult.
I agree. And I think the gap as well, mate, is becoming so the difference between Premier League and Championship. It just gets bigger and bigger, doesn't it? And it's
it does.
That is the main job for a promoted team, is to stay up after that first season. And if you can do that, we've seen recently with the likes of sort of Nottingham Forest, Brentford, obviously being there as well. They've stayed up and they've got better each year. Yeah, Bournemouth as well, exactly, prime examples. But I just think that, the gap's getting bigger. It needs to be reduced somehow because, obviously, the Premiership, it is the best and most exciting league in the world, but you want new teams in there. Teams like Coventry.
You can only hope, eh?
That's it. So you kind of hope that one of the teams will stay up, and I think it will be Leeds, which we'll come on to in a moment.
Yeah, so just I hadn't sort of finished on the Wolves part for me. I think there's a bit more of a talking point for me, which is that they've obviously lost Cunha and Aït-Nouri, which I think is massive for Wolves. They struggled massively last season. They were really poor, weren't they? Scrapping results, if anything, and they were really, they were almost in that relegation battle if the bottom 3 weren't so bad. So I think they're going to really struggle. Yeah, I haven't really seen a difference, in terms of what they've brought in at the minute. It's going to be those type of players. They've lost big players to sort of big teams, he says. So, I think they're going to be right down there, Luke.
Should we move on to the next 3?
Yeah, 15th, 16th, 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've gone for Everton in 17th, I think they're going to struggle. They're going to be in that sort of fight. There or thereabouts. I've got Leeds as well. Whilst I don't think they're going to necessarily get relegated, I feel like they're going to be around that area. I don't think I've seen enough. I mean, Leeds were really good, weren't they, at times in the Championship last year? I know you'll know a bit better than I will from the games that you've watched,
Yeah.
but I still don't think that they're a standout unless they bring in players. It's almost like the players that have gone down. Yeah, so if they start going to get some Championship players that from the teams that have just gone down, who have we got from that? Who could they pinch from there that are decent? Leicester offloading at the minute, and they big time.
Yeah, so you got Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester. Obviously, you'd pick a few players from that. Leicester obviously got their own struggles at the minute with
They have,
points
yeah.
deduction.
Yeah, so someone like Daka maybe from Leicester that have just gone down, sort of pinching a striker, isn't it, like that?
Yeah.
I know that's gone to Chelsea, but one of those ones that maybe has gone down and is looking for a better club or can perform in the Premier League, has shown some sort of ability to stay in there. That's the type of players that they need to get, isn't it, almost?
Yeah, I think yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Leeds have still got a pull, I think, for players. So I think they will be looking across Europe as well. Huge club. I mean, they're following... Yeah, top 6, 7 clubs in the country. 100% Leeds United got a massive fan base. I mean, the joke. Leeds would have took more. That's the ongoing joke, isn't it? Because the amount of fans they have. So yeah, I definitely feel that they'll strengthen. They may not bring some players from relegated teams. As I said, they might look across Europe. But I do think they have a better chance of staying up than Burnley and Sunderland. I have Wolves in 17th, Everton 16th, and Leeds 15th.
Yeah, so similar. You've got Wolves in that sort of mix. I had them a bit lower. I think Everton, struggled, didn't they, last season? I know the thing is they've got David Moyes back in there, and they did sort of show some signs of better football and started to climb the table. I say climb the table, got more points, didn't they, than they originally got when they got
they're at the new stadium this season as well, aren't they? I think, is it?
Yeah. I think is it this season? Let's have a look.
I'm pretty sure it's I think it's been named. Is it the Dickinson Stadium? I'm pretty sure
it's definitely Dickinson Stadium. I'm not sure if it's this season or not though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I mean that might be a bounce that they might get. So it might propel them higher up the league. And like you say, Moyes, he knows the club well, so they could push up. But yeah, I mean, obviously Wolves. I've got them down there with the reasons that you've said. I mean, they've lost a couple of great players, so they are going to be in and around that relegation battle, and I feel that they will be brought into it. But yeah, Everton.
I think I'm a bit harsh now. I think I'm a bit harsh on Everton. I think they're probably going to do better than 17th. I've got to be honest. Thinking of David Moyes and how much he got him going towards the latter end of the season, I think that might be a bad choice. I might have to change that on the redo. They've got to be honest.
That's fine.
But we'll see what happens. And West Ham for me, one that I think will struggle. I think Potter will be gone early doors.
Really? That's controversial.
Yeah. Is it? I thought that would be something that you'd think would happen. To be fair, I don't think he's brought a lot. I'm not a massive fan of Graham Potter. I've got to be honest. I think he did very well, didn't he, at Brighton? Perhaps overachieved. But Brighton are a very well-run club anyway. And every manager that's come in has seemed to have some success, or at least around those, 9th, 10th, 11th side kind of place. Always sort of mid-table is what I'm trying to say. Whereas West Ham, they struggled. I think Bowen, he looks for a move soon. I know he's West Ham, diehard West Ham, but, would he not be better at going to someone, top 5, top 6? I think he'd do well at someone.
You're not going to make the West Ham fans very happy with that comment,
No,
Sam.
I know. And like I say, it might not happen, but I think he deserves to go and play somewhere better, really. And on that note, I think they're going to struggle.
So moving on then, so these are the mid-table teams that are not really going to do much in terms of challenging for Europe or going to be brought into a relegation battle, in my opinion. So 14th, I've got... Steady Eddies, that's the right one. Yeah, 14th West Ham, 13th Bournemouth, 12th Nottingham Forest, with a little drop off for them, and 11th Crystal Palace.
Yeah, so we've got two the same then, Luke. We've got Forest and Bournemouth. So Brentford 14th, Forest 13th, 12th Bournemouth, and 11th Fulham.
So a drop off for Forest this year then, we both agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, obviously don't help being in Europe, but I actually think they're going to really struggle. And I think Nuno might be the first manager to be sacked this year. And that sounds, probably a crazy thing to even consider based on how good they were last year. Like you say, Europe's going to be a bit of a hindrance. I think you've got to have a
Yeah.
big squad and squad depth with decent quality to be able to cope with the Premier League and Europe. I'm not sure they've got that. They have got, on paper, first 11 looks great or did look great, last season.
Yeah.
It's whether they can do that. I know they're going to be looking to hold on to a few players, aren't they, as well, with them performing so well. So, yeah, one.
And Nuno as well, I'd say, because of all
Nuno.
all that
Yeah.
at the end of last season with the owner and him coming on the pitch, and obviously
I think he's
we're
such
all
a dick
seeing
as
that.
well. Do you
Yeah.
know what? I think their downfall is going to be the fact that they expect so much and their expectations are so high. I know they've got a good
I
history.
agree.
Yeah, but this is the first season. Well, last season was the first season they've really looked like a top team. And I think they're going to
Challenged.
drop back off. Yeah, they're challenging, weren't they? At one point, they didn't do anything crazy, but they end up being in a European spot, which is great and probably unheard of for Forest. I'm sure the fans were really happy about how they finished the season. And how the whole season went, in fairness. They were beating teams left, right and centre, weren't they? So there's that. But I just think they're going to drop off. I think Nuno's not going to do so well. I feel like they're going to be sort of, 10th, 11th come Christmas. Genuinely, I do. I don't think they're going to perform to the standards last year. And I think because the owner feels like they should be performing, top 4, top 3 club by the sounds of how he talks, I think they'll get rid of him. I know he's just on a new contract as well, which is crazy. But yeah, I think he's gone. I think he's been the first manager to get gone in the Premier League this season. How about that one? Talking point for you in the comments, eh?
Well, get in the comments, Forest fans, how do you feel about that? And West Ham fans, because Sam thinks Potter and Nuno are going to be the first 2 managers to be gone. So, definitely have your say in the comments. Obviously, Nuno is very important to Forest. He's a brilliant manager. And if I was him, to be honest with you, mate, if I've got an owner coming onto the pitch and giving it to me in my face in front of all those fans, I'd have left.
Terrible.
I'd have gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
The disrespect, it's not good enough.
You say you're the god, but he's getting paid a whack. He's been forming like you wouldn't believe in the league. So it's probably a bit hasty. You'd be gone, but I think there'd be some strong words had, right?
Yeah, I mean, morally, I'd be gone, but physically, obviously,
morally, you'd be gone.
Yeah.
Please, I'm only joking. I don't actually want to leave.
Yeah, that salary is nice. Yeah, exactly. So moving on from the mid-table teams, the floaters of the league, we're going to move on to the floaters.
The float. I'm sure those fans will appreciate that one, Luke.
Yeah, the floater teams, right. So moving on swiftly, we're going to go on to 8th, 9th and 10th now. So the teams that will be looking to push for Europe. I have gone for Brighton in 10th. Spurs in 9th and Man United in 8th. So improvements for Man United and Spurs from my side.
Yeah, I've gone for Brighton, Spurs, and I've gone for Palace. Sorry, so in order: Brighton 10th, Palace 9th, Spurs 8th. So again, two similar. I certainly weren't going to put United in that mix, mate. I've got to be honest. I know that you're probably doing it based on last year's performance. I'm not expecting us to be challenging, but I can't see us finishing that low down. We will see. I think Spurs, for me, are going to be, around those areas again. I think the appointment will make a massive difference. Frank will come in and play. I think they'll start to play some really nice football. And they haven't got, they've probably got 3 or 4 really good players. Other than that, they probably could do with some new faces. There's been a lot of talks about a few, haven't there? But nothing over the line yet. And then Palace, consistent as ever. I think, again, like you say, talked about floaters, didn't we, in the last group? But they'll be one that's sort of pretty static and sort of floating around that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the reason, obviously... Yeah, so like Man United, obviously, I knew you'd be you wouldn't be overly impressed with me putting them around there, but I think just from a non-Man United fan, obviously that's a massive improvement from last season, going up to 8th. Man United are bringing in new players, so they're going to need time for job. But they've still got that Obviously, there's something wrong in the background. There's a lot of toxic behaviour, and some of those players are still in the squad. I don't know if they're going to be moved on. Players like Garnacho, which we've seen wearing an Aston Villa top. There seems to be uproar on
What
the
do you think
internet at
about
the
that?
minute.
I mean, can you believe
To
that?
be honest, I don't really care. To be honest, it wouldn't bother me. Saying that, if it was a Coventry player, and he was wearing another Championship club, it depends
Yeah, I
who that
think.
Championship club was.
Yeah, I think you're wrong there, Luke. To be fair, I don't agree with that probably at all. I think it's a bigger deal than some people believe it is. I've seen mixed views as well online,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I actually think it's a lack of respect. I think he's taken the Mickey there completely. He's gone out of his way to get a Rashford shirt from a club that he's been at for what 6 months.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not got an England top on. He ain't got an old Man United top with Rashford on the back. Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. Him and his brother, yeah, are the biggest idiots I've ever seen. I know I'm very passionate about this, so apologies. I didn't put this much detail in all the other clubs, did I?
But yeah, so I've got them improving from last season. Spurs as well. Obviously, Thomas Frank coming in. He's a decent manager. Again, I feel sorry for Ange, but obviously they've moved on now, so I think there will be an improvement at Tottenham as well. So yeah, they're the teams that I feel that will be pushing for your positions this year.
But yeah, moving on to the next three, Luke's Villa, Newcastle, Man United in that order, seventh,
Yeah,
sixth, fifth. I think either of those three could be in any order, if I'm honest.
yeah,
I've
okay,
probably been a bit biased with United being in fifth. I
yeah,
think Villa, seventh or sixth or fifth, but I've put them seventh just because I feel like Newcastle United will have a better season this year, especially with the additions that I've seen so far. There's a lot of work to be done at United, as we've just discussed.
yeah.
Behind the scenes, there's some players that need to go. But from the two additions that we will one, but nearly two, with a couple more, I think we will be, hopefully around there. Newcastle have got some money to spend if they want to spend it, haven't they?
Yeah.
They might have to sell a few players first, but they've certainly got or will attract some decent players. They've been there or thereabouts now for a couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my seventh, sixth, and fifth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too dissimilar from yourself. I've got two of those teams. I've got Villa and Newcastle again in those three. I think anyone would say they would be pushing for top four. They're two very well managed teams. They've both got money to
Yeah.
spend. So I've got Newcastle fifth, Villa sixth, and then rather than Man United, I've got Fulham in there again, who I think could have another good season. Again, very good squad of players, Fulham. So yeah, not really much
I like Eddie
to
Howe as well,
disagree
you,
with.
Luke. Eddie
Yeah,
Howe,
I
I
like
like
it.
Eddie.
Yeah, anyhow, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think he possibly could be an England manager one day. I could
I'd say the
definitely
same.
see that. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, mate, I was half hoping he got the job when Southgate left. I really
yeah,
did.
it's a Tuchel. Yeah,
Yeah, good job at Bournemouth. And then he's done a really good job at Newcastle. I think he's pretty down to earth. Yeah, he seems to sort of talk
nice
sense.
bloke.
I've
Yeah,
watched quite a few little sort of YouTube and compilations and documentaries and whatnot on how he works on the training field, and he seems to know a lot. He's a very intelligent guy, and if you don't know
he
that,
is.
get to know because he's very smart.
Okay, then. So moving
Next,
on to the most important positions, the top four, and obviously the champions of the Premier League next season. So
yeah.
these are my four. So I've gone for Chelsea in fourth, Arsenal in third, Manchester City in second, and Liverpool to win the league once again.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to that. Well, we've got the same top four, haven't we? I've got Chelsea in fourth, Arsenal third, Liverpool second, though, and City first.
Okay,
I think City come again like you wouldn't believe this year. I really
really?
do. They've made some, we mentioned in the last video, didn't they, about the couple of transfers they've got over the line so far. Well, three real decent players. And I think they go again. Chelsea and Arsenal. Chelsea, I've brought in Delap. They are going to be strong again next year. I think
Yeah, I agree.
they'll be there or thereabouts. I think within that fourth, fifth, and sixth position, you might find that's pretty close. Even Villa might creep in there. It's so tight at the minute. One thing I didn't mention, to be fair, as we've gone along, the standard that we've got in that top 10. You could actually jumble them around and pick them out in any order, and bar probably City and Liverpool, you wouldn't be far
Yeah,
away, would you? If you know
I'd
what I
agree
mean,
with that.
in
Yeah,
any
yeah.
order. So, but yeah, Chelsea fourth, Arsenal third. They need to get a striker over the line. They've gone quiet on that part again. I don't
That's
know
the
what's
main thing
happened
for
there.
Arsenal, isn't it? If they put in a striker,
Yeah,
then you kind of get them a little
unless
bit closer to Man City and Liverpool.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah, you might see him up there, challenging for the title.
Yeah.
But until that happens, Luke, early predictions, as we've said, Arsenal third, Liverpool second. I think they'll be strong again. Some good additions so far. And then
Definitely.
City, I think they're going to really go. I think they're going to be fantastic this year. They're going to be City of old. They're going to be dominating most games. I think it's going to be a real tough season for most of the teams around them.
You like their signings, don't you? We spoke about it in
Really
episode
like
one.
the signings, yeah, I
Yeah.
really do. They haven't spent a lot. They've brought in some really talented players, and I think that obviously with Pep in charge, he can get on playing as well, can't he? And even if you look at last year, City, whilst they were probably the poorest City side in terms of performances that we'd seen for a few seasons, they still finished, didn't they, within the sort of top 3 or 4 teams? So
Yeah, I mean that was a bad season for Man City last season.
no, it was, yeah. And I wish our bad season was top 4. I've got to be honest.
So yeah, obviously, again, absolutely agree with Arsenal need a striker. So in order to have that conversation, they need to be getting a 20+ goal scorer to get them closer to those top 2. So yeah, I'm going for Liverpool just on the basis of the transfers that they've brought in so far. I think Frimpong, Wirtz is pretty much done deal, and they've got that Kirkes from Bournemouth as well. And I think they are still looking at a couple of other players as well. So I just think the way Liverpool were last year, along with the additions that they've brought in, I still fancy Liverpool. Don't get me wrong, I think it'll be very close. I think City will be better this year. But yeah, I've gone for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it'll be really tight at the top. I don't think we're far wrong with that top 4 though. I think that's probably the most obvious at the minute pre-season.
Yeah.
Without any more transfers coming in that we could probably say. I think after that it's quite close, isn't it, from top 10 upwards? To be honest.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think obviously we'll make this is the early predictions.
Yes.
We'll see how much we change it when we do the next one when it's the start of the season. Yeah, I'm happy with.
I'm happy with them. Yeah. I don't think there's much controversy other than maybe a couple of points that me and you've made during it, but yeah,
Man United.
Exactly that. Yeah, I even started sweating a little bit talking about that.
So yeah, that's great. So yeah, well, that's our Premiership predictions. We're going to move on to the Championship predictions. So just before we move on to the Championship predictions, you might notice I'm now on my own. Unfortunately, I have lost Sam. He's gone missing. Not physically. He unfortunately has some unforeseen technical issues where he's not able to record at the moment, but he will be back in the next segment. So I'm just doing this Championship predictions on my own. Obviously, I'll have my predictions on the left and Sam's predictions on the right, so we'll still go through each other's predictions for this season. And any teams that Sam has picked out that I may find questionable, we'll put that to him, and he can answer those. Remember, take these with a pinch of salt, guys. It's obviously early predictions. We're basing it off the transfers that have happened so far, the new managers that have come in, a little bit on the form of last season. So yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, get in the comments, get your predictions down as well. Let us know what you think of ours. So yeah, let's get into it now. I'm just going to get our first teams up. So we're going to start with the bottom 4 teams, so the 3 relegated teams and the team to avoid relegation. So here we go. So in 24th, I have Charlton, 23rd, Hull City, 22nd, Sheffield Wednesday. Sorry, Wednesday fans. And 21st, Oxford United. Again, sorry, Oxford fans. Just before I go into my choices, 2 questionable choices for Sam. Derby County, second from bottom. So I'm going to have to ask him about that one. Considering how well they did when Eustace came in, they were beating teams in the top sort of 7-8 the league last year. They beat us, Coventry. They actually battered us at their home. That's really my worst away day last season. They were rejuvenated, weren't they? They were winning games. They were getting the points on the board. They felt like they were going to stay up. The fans were behind on it. It was just not a good day at the office for Coventry. So yeah, questionable Derby second for, but I don't think that will happen personally. And Watford as well. I think they'll be a lot higher than
than what Sam's got them on at 21st. I think they'll be sort of mid-table again. But we'll see. Obviously, Watford have got a new manager. They may have a new manager by the end of the season. Obviously, they change their manager quite often, don't they? So yeah, my choice is Charlton. Again, sorry, Charlton fans. It's a given, isn't it, really? You're the playoff team from League One. Similar to Oxford last year, you will be the favourites to go down. And it's not to say that you're just here to make up the numbers. But on paper, you probably will have the weakest squad. I watched an interview today on Sky Sports about what kind of money Charlton have, and it will be the least amount of money to spend out of the whole league. So you kind of just think not a great deal of money to spend. Weakest squad, you're going to be sort of around the relegation zone, and I think they will be at the bottom club. Hull City, obviously they avoided relegation on the last day of the season last year, and I've got quite a few family members that are Hull City fans, and they were obviously very, very disappointed with last season's sort of performance and finish, and I can't see any improvement already. With they've got a new manager. He's a bit of an unknown. He did a stint in Turkey, and he also did a stint with Zagreb. I think they got beat. I think in the last video we spoke about the new Hull City manager and the fact that they got beat 9-2 by Bayern Munich, and he left 2 days later. So yeah, it doesn't not a lot of confidence to me for Hull City. I don't think they've got a great deal to spend either. Sheffield Wednesday, again, this is another one that I wouldn't have thought last season that I'd be putting anywhere near the relegation zone. I think Sheffield Wednesday are a good team. They have a good set of players. But it's what's going on off the field now that's kind of put this thought into my head that they're going to struggle. Obviously, they've got, I think it's 3 transfer window ban. They're not able to buy new players. They are only available to have loan transfers or free transfers. But if you're looking at a club that is looking to loan players, with the trouble that Sheffield Wednesday and the trouble that Chancery is causing by sort of not paying wages on time, which is the whole reason what the issues were, are you really going to want to send players to Sheffield Wednesday? Probably not. So you think they'd struggle. They're not allowed to buy players that they want. So I just think it's going to be a bad season for Sheffield Wednesday, and a lot of it will depend on Danny Roll staying, and he's being linked with absolutely everyone at the minute. And that's because obviously of what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday. So if Danny Roll leaves as well, I'd be worried for the Wednesday fans. I'd be worried for your team. I've seen a few fans on TikTok who have sort of said similar things. There's a guy on there that I follow, shout out to Ashton, who's a Sheffield Wednesday fan. He seems to talk a lot of sense. I believe he's quite worried as well. So yeah, they're my bottom 3 to go down. And then Oxford United, I've got to stay up. I think they overachieved last season with where they finished. Obviously, they were still brought into sort of a relegation battle. And to be fair, we had some great games against them. I mean, the home and away, there were plenty of goals. It was back and forth. We had a great win at the Kassam. That was a great away day. That's kind of where the Mason Clark chant started, to be honest with you. It was the videos that circulate online was from that, and then now every team's copying that chant. I just thought I'd get that in there. But yeah, I think Oxford, they will stay up again, but I think they'll be closer to the relegation zone than last season. So moving on to positions 20th to 16th. So there might be a couple of shocks in here from Swansea and Watford fans. So get yourself in the comments. I'm sure you're not going to agree with me at all. So yeah, in 20th, I've got Swansea, which is going to be a massive drop off from last season. I'm finishing 11th. Portsmouth in 19th, Watford 18th, Preston 17th, and Stoke City 16th. So a quick explanation for Swansea. I just feel they're going to drop off this season. I don't. There are no specific reason apart from the fact that they haven't got a lot of money to spend. They've lost a couple of key players. They've made a few signings so far. I think a couple of free signings, a 5 million player, I think I read. But they need those players to hit the ground running. Swansea do, and it's always a transitional period when you've got new players and you're trying to integrate them into the team and you're trying to get the team to gel. I just don't think personally that they have got what it takes to do what they did last season. I think again they overachieved from the season before. I think they're going to drop off. So yeah, Swansea fans, get in the comments. I'm sure you won't be happy. And yeah, let me know what you think. For Stoke City and Preston, a couple of places improvements from last season. I think a full season for Mark Robins at Stoke. Notoriously, he does start slow, I must say, because obviously being a Coventry fan, I know all about that. But ultimately, they will come good during this season, so I don't think there'll be any risk of going down. But they will be sort of in this sort of position. Same with Preston. I see some slight improvements. But nothing dramatic for Stoke and Preston. So yeah, and then Watford, Portsmouth. Starts with Watford. Again, I feel like they're gonna have a drop off this year. Again, they've got rid of a manager again. So they need it's a transitional period for a new manager. Watford just changed their manager so often. I know a lot of Watford fans did not want to get rid of Tom Cleverley, but ultimately that happened. And yeah, I just think again they need to. It's a new way of a new manager's working and a new way of playing. It's going to take time to settle in again. I just think it's going to backfire again. So I feel Watford are going to drop down. And then Pompey, again they were sort of brought into a relegation battle towards the end of the season. They had done enough. Their form at Fratton Park is very good. They're very difficult to play against at home. I just think their away form needs to get a lot better than what was last season, because I think they really struggled away. But as long as they can keep their home form, I don't feel that they will be relegated and they will stay up again. I just feel that they're going to be brought into another battle because of their away form. I think we're now looking at sort of mid-table, so we won't go into too much detail. Obviously, you can see Wrexham, I've got in 15th there, Bristol City 14th, QPR 13th, Derby 12th, Blackburn 11th. So, yeah, for Wrexham, I think 15th will be an absolutely fantastic first season in the Championship. They've had 3 promotions in a row and they're looking for a 4th, but it's not going to happen. A lot more difficult than what they have done. It is another step up. And yes, they may still have more money than most clubs, but there's a lot more money spent in the Championship, especially with the relegated Premiership teams, the established Championship teams like your West Brom, Middlesbrough, Coventry. They all have money to spend, so it's not going to be a walk in the park for Wrexham. But I think a 15th position is a respectable position. Wrexham fans, get yourself in the comments. What are your aspirations for this season? Are you happy? Would you be happy with a sort of mid-table first season in the Championship, or are you looking beyond that? Derby will be a lot higher than last season. Like I said at the start, with Sam putting Derby in the relegation zone, I just don't think that will happen with Derby. John Eustace did a fantastic job. Brilliant manager. He's I think every team that he's been at, he's done wonders so far. Even when he was at Birmingham and they got rid of him, they were in the playoffs then. So I just think Derby will improve season on season now. So moving on to 10th position to 7th position. So these are the clubs that will be challenging for playoffs, but will just miss out in the end. So I've gone for 10th Millwall, 9th West Brom, 8th Birmingham City, and 7th Norwich City. And Sam has gone for 10th Middlesbrough, 9th Wrexham, 8th Bristol City, and 7th Leicester City. So just starting with mine. So Millwall, West Brom, understandable. They're both around the playoffs last season. I think they'll be around the playoffs this season. West Brom obviously have Ryan Mason as their manager now, so a good young manager. I think if they make a couple of astute transfers during the window, they'll be right up there. So yeah, West Brom and Millwall will both be challenging, but I feel they may just miss out. Just before I come on to Birmingham, Norwich, I feel with Leon Manning going there as a very good manager. He did wonders at Bristol City, and they were obviously overachieving last season. So I think he'll do well at Norwich, and I think again they'll have a good window, bring in some players, and they'll be fighting for playoffs. So they will be around sort of that position. So yeah, moving on to Birmingham City. So 8th, I've got them. Obviously, it's their first season back in the Championship. Walked League One last season. And let's be honest, they have a championship team. So they had a championship team in League One. They now have a championship team in the Championship. So they have a very good spine of players. They are on the cusp of buying 2 players. I spoke to one of my friends today who's a Blue Nose, and he told me about Damari Gray, who obviously used to play for Leicester, and Tommy Doyle, who plays for Wolves, as we know, is a great midfielder. So that'll be a loan with an option to buy. I think that's an absolutely fantastic signing if they pull it off. He will be one of the top midfielders in the league. So Birmingham are not messing about. They have the money. We all know that. So they will be pushing for playoffs. I have no doubt about it. I don't think they have enough yet to finish in the playoff spots. I might be wrong with that. They might prove me wrong and they might finish in the playoffs. But for now, I've got them just missing out. They have a very good player in Stansfield. And I imagine he will stay. He's there for the long haul. He is the sort of the new face of the new Birmingham City. So yeah, I think they'll have a great season. I think they'll be very difficult to play at St Andrews. Obviously, it's a big step up from League One, and it will be a lot harder for Birmingham. But I don't think Birmingham will be worried about playing any team at all in this league. So yeah, absolutely have no issues with Birmingham at all. It is a local derby. They're only 15-20 minutes down the road. Obviously we shared St Andrews a couple of years ago, so we'll always be very grateful that they allowed us to use their stadium. It was obviously beneficial to Birmingham because they had a few financial issues as well, so we paid for that privilege to play at St Andrews. So it worked out both for both teams. But yeah, we'll be forever grateful because it could have been a lot worse for Coventry. And let's just move on to Sam. So moving on to Sam's end. So we've got Middlesbrough in 10th. Absolutely, yeah, fair comment. They will be around the sort of playoff picture. Wrexham high as 9th. So that's something I'll question. And then Leicester City 7th. So Sam's decided that Leicester will miss out on the playoffs altogether. I imagine that's probably down to the fact that they do have a 15-point deduction coming their way, and they might be offloading some players. Again, we'll get Sam to confirm that on the next segment when he returns. So let's move on to the playoff teams, and we're looking at 6th to 3rd. So I have Middlesbrough in 6th, Leicester in 5th, my team Coventry in 4th, and Sheffield United in 3rd. And Sam's gone Birmingham in 6th, West Brom in 5th, Coventry in 4th, Ipswich in 3rd. So some mixed choices there between mine and Sam's. I'll just go through mine and why I've decided on the teams I have gone for. So Middlesbrough, so they've got rid of Carrick and they've got Rob Edwards, who is a fantastic manager. And also as well, which I will at the end of this episode, I will briefly go into the details of this, but Adi Vivesh, our former coach at Coventry, so was a coach of Mark Robbins before he left, was working with him for a number of years. He's a very, very good coach. He has a lot of connections at Chelsea. He has a lot of connections in the Premier League. And I think that aspect of Rob Edwards and Adi together is a fantastic managerial setup, coaching setup. Middlesbrough have got a squad, and if they add a couple of players, they will be right up there. They could even be higher than 6th. That's how confident I am for Middlesbrough, just by the managerial appointment and the coach that they brought in. So that's my feeling on Middlesbrough. I've got Leicester in 5th, which was hard for me to do that because obviously I'm a Coventry fan. And we know our feelings on Leicester. I don't think the 15-point deduction is going to stop them finishing in a playoff position. Even if they lose players, I still think they have a team and squad that will be, again, right up near the top of the league. There's no doubt about it. As much as I would love and laugh for Leicester to have an absolute drop-off, do a Luton and get relegated twice, it's not going to happen. It's going to take them a few games to get the points on the board, but they will start climbing the table. And as long as you can get on a run, 6, 7, 8 games, and you're picking up points, you start flying up the table. And I think that's what's going to happen. So yeah, Leicester in 5th. So moving on to 4th then, Coventry City, my team. And obviously if the playoffs finish like this, then 4th and 5th obviously play each other. Coventry v Leicester in the playoff semi-final. Oh, could you imagine? That would be a feisty affair, would be the word I would use there. So yeah, 4th, I think we'll definitely finish in the playoffs. Again, I don't think we've got enough to be challenging the autos. Hopefully I'm wrong and we are closer to sort of 3rd and 2nd than we are 5th and 6th this season. Obviously when Frank came in last season, we went on that amazing streak of 10-11 games undefeated, and it propelled us up the league. I think a full season with Frank at the helm, I can just see ongoing improvement. I think it's sort of getting to the point now where we've got to get it done, because it's been 3 years now that we've been knocking on the door of the Premier League. We lost against Luton, 1 penalty kick away from the Premier League. The season after, we were in sort of playoff positions, and then the FA Cup happened, and that kind of took away the momentum in the league. And we chose to go with the FA Cup, which we all know what happened there against Man United. Then obviously last season we got to the playoffs again. We played Sunderland, and we were the better team for both games. So I do think we'll finish in the playoffs this season. I think the main objective for us would be to keep a few of our star players, and maybe let go a few others. I won't obviously go too much about Coventry, and obviously this is a prediction video and there's plenty of time for me to talk about Coventry on another time. But as long as we keep sort of Jack Redoni, who's our kind of star player, Milan Van Uwijk, he's obviously one of the best right backs in the league. He's been linked with a few Premiership teams, so let's see what happens there. And then 3rd, Sheffield United. I think they will be knocking on the door of the autos, but again, I think they might just fall short. I think there's going to be 2 better teams than Sheffield United this season, and I think they'll be stuck in the playoffs, and they'll be facing a strong Middlesbrough team, and they could again fail in the playoffs. Obviously Wilder's gone, so the football might change. Will they keep Gustavo Hamer? That's another question. I'm sure Premier League teams are looking at Hamer. He is probably the best midfielder in the league. Moving on to Sam's. So he's got Birmingham City finishing the playoffs, which it's a fair prediction from Sam. Like I said, I've got them just missing out, but there's no reason why Birmingham can't finish in the playoffs with their backing and the squad that they have. So yeah, I won't really divulge much into that. West Brom, again, I had them just floating outside the playoffs, but again, with Ryan Mason as manager, a good young team, some transfers in this window, and they could be looking at themselves in the playoffs. He's got also Coventry in 4th, which is great. I'm happy. Thank you very much, Sam. And he's gone for Ipswich 3rd. So one of the relegated teams from last season. He's got them finishing outside the autos in 3rd position. So he thinks Ipswich would just miss out, which brings me nicely on to the top 2 teams. And I've got Ipswich to finish 1st as champions, and 2nd Southampton. And Sam has gone for Southampton to win the league, and Sheffield United to get in the autos. So in terms of my prediction for the league, I just think Ipswich have got a squad perfect for the Championship. They've got their Premiership quality players. They're not going to lose many players. I know they've lost Delap, which is obviously a massive loss, but they'll replace him, and they've got a good squad. I honestly think Ipswich will be the team to beat this year. And I think they'll be number 1. I think Southampton will be very close, and Sheffield United. I think they'll be close and again fighting for automatics. But yeah, Ipswich and Southampton, 2 of the relegation teams. I've got two of the autos for the Championship next season. Sam obviously has Southampton as the champion, which is fair enough. And then Sheffield United, he's got in the autos. Again, I've got them knocking on the door. So potentially they could. I just think they'll fall a little bit short.
So as you can see, Sam is back. Welcome back, Sam.
Back. Let's
He's
go.
back. It's nice having you back, mate. I didn't like it on my own.
You looked a bit lonely. I've got to be honest.
I was very lonely. So yeah, just before we go on to the next bit about the fixture release. So yeah, just a few predictions that I wanted to speak to you about on your side. So a couple of them. So first one was Derby in the relegation zone. Then I think it was Wrexham being quite high up, Birmingham in the playoffs. So there's a couple. So if you want to just give us your feedback on those.
Obviously, the Championship's not my forte. I'd like to say I'm a bit of a Premier League connoisseur, but I've been doing a bit of research, Luke. I've done a bit of research, and what I feel like with Derby is I might have been a little bit harsh. I've got to be honest. Well, John Eustace, isn't he, the new manager? He's done pretty well, hasn't he, since Feb? In fairness, his results have been pretty good. I know they've just signed Carlton Morris as well from Luton.
Very good signing.
Yeah, good player. He might get enough goals to keep them well away. But that being said, 19th last season, they're obviously in League One the year before. So therefore, they've not done anything convincing in the championship yet. And it's not an easy league, is it? So based on form and where they've come from, and from a few of the games I did see last year, in fairness, that's why I've put them so low.
Okay. I mean, like you say, it probably is a little bit harsh, and only time will tell.
In your opinion, Luke, in your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. In your opinion, and obviously, I personally think they'll be a lot higher, but we shall see.
So why is that then? Why is that then? Based on sort of last year, why do you think they're going to be?
Yeah,
higher?
So just based on it's simply when Eustace came in, they became a very difficult team to play against. He shored up the defence. They scored goals, and then
they beat you 2-0, I believe.
They battered us, mate. It was the worst away day, like I was saying when I was on my own. It was a horrible fixture. But yeah, when Eustace came in, they were in the relegation zone, and when obviously he'd implemented his style of play and got everything going, they started pushing up the table and out of those relegation places. So I just think they'll kick on this season. And I think they'll push on. Wrexham being high, though. I'm sick of Wrexham and Birmingham. They're all over Sky Sports News at the minute. Maybe I've been a bit, I don't know, against the whole Wrexham Birmingham thing.
And listen, I was quite conscious of that when I made my decisions, by the way, that obviously that's massive news at the minute, and I think Wrexham more than Birmingham, I've got to be honest, that I've seen, where there's almost this story to be told where they're then going to go and, get promoted to the Premier League, which, I think's, ridiculous, right? They might have a good season. I mean, ninth for me, whilst there's more teams in the Championship than the Prem, ninth for me doesn't seem that high. I think it's sort of around, you might say playoffs, I guess, but I think they'll be competing. I think they're going to have that bit between their teeth. I think they'll be, they'll come again, but I don't think they're going to be near the playoffs. I mean, I've put them in ninth, which you're going to say is 3 places off. But, I think ninth, 10th, there or thereabouts. I'm not sure they're going to have that fairy tale story that everyone wants, but, I thought it was a pretty fair assessment.
We can't have that fairy tale. It can't happen, Sam. Three promotions they've had. It can't be a fourth promotion to the Premier League. It can't. Not when there's teams like my team that have been knocking on the door for 3 years and we just can't open it.
No, I agree. I mean, you asked about Birmingham as well, and that's probably a similar thing. Is that they were if I'm going to put Wrexham at ninth, I've got to put Birmingham a little higher, I guess, based on the fact that they were the better team, weren't they, in League One? And they battered teams, didn't they, last year? Big time. And they're a big club, aren't they? They're a big club.
They are a big club, yeah.
Yeah, they consistently were in that sort of, what do we call it? The floater position, didn't we, in the last one? In the Championship for a long time, weren't they, before they got relegated? So it wasn't as if they were a really poor side in the Championship for many years. It was almost like they've gone down and now they've come back up, yeah? So I thought maybe that would be a pretty fair assessment. They might push for playoffs, I've got to be honest.
With that logic of obviously you've put Wrexham at ninth, then you have to place Birmingham higher. So I get that.
Yeah. But I'm not on that fairy tale. I promise you, I'm not. I just think that I think there's a story there to be had, and whilst it's not the fairy tale end I think they're going to get, they're definitely going to be full of confidence. Yeah, they're going to be thinking they can conquer every league now, which is something that's going to. I think they'll be nowhere near the bottom half. I've got to be honest.
No, I don't. And I was happy you put my team, Coventry, in fourth, the same as me.
Yeah, well, I thought anything lower than the playoffs, you'd have some tears, wouldn't we? So I had to be kind. And in fairness, it's my local team, isn't it? So I've been to watch Cov enough times, and if I weren't a big Man United fan, there's no two teams around here for me, but I certainly, I do enjoy watching Cov and being locally. So yeah. For me, I'd love them to be there and get to the Premier League. That'd be great. I know it'd make you very happy, which obviously makes me happy, Luke. Makes me happy.
Good. I mean, we are a playoff team now, though. All
Yes.
jokes aside, and
No, I
obviously
agree.
it is. I appreciate you putting them there to make me happy, but
There's
I
more
think
to it, Luke,
that,
than making you happy. I've got to be honest.
yeah.
There's definitely more to it than that.
So yeah, let's hope we do finish there. And then there was one more to Leicester as well. So you've got them finishing outside the playoffs and not near the automatics. Was that down to the
Well,
incoming deduction of
I
points,
think
or are
so.
they
Deductions, mood around the camp. I think they've parted with their manager today. From what I
today?
can
Yeah,
see. Yeah, which is a live update for everybody that's tuned in.
yeah.
But yeah, it is a dire state at Leicester at the minute, and I think they're going to keep some players, and therefore they won't be a million miles away. You put them a bit higher than that, didn't you? Did you put them in the
Yeah,
playoffs?
yeah, I put them in the playoffs, so I've got them
Yeah,
at 6, and I said that I would absolutely laugh out loud if they did a Luton and back-to-back relegations. I would be overjoyed with that, but I just don't think
yeah.
that's going to happen. I think even
No,
though with the 15-point deduction, they've still got enough in the tank with the squad to push up the table regardless. So yeah, as much as I'd like them to go down again, it'd be brilliant.
yeah.
It's not going to happen. So yeah, I
No.
appreciate.
I agree with that. And I think, you know what, as much as you hate Leicester, yeah, they are a big club, right? And they're probably going to have enough in the tank to be certainly top
Yeah.
half, not challenging for promotion, playoffs, should we say, at least, like you've put. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
seventh was pretty fair for me. And you might not have touched upon many more, but I just wanted to make a point about West Brom. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
very consistent, aren't they, around that sort of, ninth, eighth, seventh playoffs. They're there, then they're out of it. They're there, they're back and forth.
Yeah.
Boyne Baggies, they were once called. I know they've not been in the Premier League for that long now, for a long time now. But with it being my dad's supporting club,
Mm-hmm.
I've got to give them a bit of a shout out. And obviously, hopefully, with the lease of life from maybe Ryan Mason, they might get now a bit of an injection from
Mm-hmm.
him. It might push them up the league and just get
Yeah.
that playoff position.
Let's get into the championship fixtures, which were released yesterday. So now, obviously, everyone's excited for the season to get going. I know I
Yep.
certainly am. So yeah, the opening day fixtures. That Friday night one looks pretty tasty. Birmingham City versus Ipswich Town under the lights, St Andrews. What do you think of that one, mate?
I think we'll be in the pub for that one, won't we?
Oh, definitely,
I
absolutely.
think we'll be in the pub. Hey, the 8th of August as well, day before my birthday.
Oh, happy
I think
days.
we might have to make a trip out for that one.
Yeah.
And absolutely, yeah, tasty as ever. I think Birmingham Ipswich team gone up, team gone down. Everyone's going to tune in, aren't they, to see how Birmingham get on against probably one of the I guess Birmingham are one of the favourites to be in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
if not get promoted. And obviously Ipswich certainly are from being dropping down from the Premier League. They're going to be prime time as well. So should be a tasty game, shouldn't it? Like you said.
Yeah, definitely. And I really don't think Birmingham will be afraid of playing Ipswich.
No,
I don't think they'll worry about playing anyone this
especially
year.
not at home.
No, definitely at home. So yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine it'll be a packed out house, packed out away end, first game of the season, opening the championship campaign. Yeah, really looking forward to
I
it.
agree.
So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Birmingham City fans, get yourselves in the comments. Are you excited for a Friday night fixture? We want to hear from you. And then moving on to the Saturday, 3 early kickoffs, my team included, already being selected for television. I'm really happy with our opening day. So we're against Hull at home. And obviously, Hull last season avoided relegation by goal difference, and they've got a new manager again. So they are one of the favourites to go down this year. So yeah, really looking forward to that opening game against Hull. I'll go more into Coventry in a minute. But yeah,
I was going to say, well, we'll definitely do that in a minute because I had a very happy man, didn't I, when you got the fixture release with your first few fixtures. So we'll certainly have a look at those in a moment because you were overjoyed, expecting some really good results. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just think picking out from there, you've got a couple of other ones. Southampton, Wrexham. That could be one, couldn't it? Again, a tasty one. Southampton probably expecting to go back up. Wrexham, they're expecting this big fairy tale, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Could be a really good game. In fact, the opening fixtures look really good, didn't they?
I mean, again, it's similar to the Birmingham Ipswich, isn't it? It's exactly the same with Southampton, Wrexham. I think Wrexham would have liked to have got started at home, maybe
an easier start.
Well, yeah, an easier start. So, but I mean, there's no better way to test yourself than playing a previous Premier League team coming down, is there? So it's going to be straight into a tough game. But I think it's something they'll enjoy. But again, it'll be interesting to watch that. Obviously, I won't be able to watch it, so you might have to let me know how that goes, Sam, because I'll be obviously at the Cov game.
I'll send you the updates.
I'll send you the updates.
But yeah, I know you're hoping for a Wrexham bit of a battering, aren't you?
I'm just not a fan of. You're right. I'm not a fan. No. I don't want the fairy tale. Let's hope Southampton battle them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're not a fan of Ryan Reynolds then, no?
I mean, I like his movies. I just there comes a point.
I like his movies.
I mean, any fan that has billionaire owners are going to be happy about it. Any opposition fan in the same league is not going to be happy about it, are they? So,
true.
A touch of jealousy, possibly, because there is no there's no financial issue for Wrexham. If they want to go and buy someone, they'll buy someone. And that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's been for 3 or 4 years now, because they've been climbing the table. So yeah, it'd be nice for them to this season just to feel okay. So the Championship's a next step up. We're not going to get that fairy tale. We are going to maybe have to stay here for a couple of seasons and build up, like the rest of us have had to do.
Well, I was going to say, Luke. I probably haven't thought about it like that. You get sort of mixed up in the hype of it being that fairy tale, and like you say, you've got teams in there like your Covs, your West Broms, your whatnots that have been in and around for a little while now, and to have someone come in with all that money, and go, let's get whoever or whatever we want, and move up the leagues, must be pretty frustrating from your part. So I get that, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah. Let's hope Southampton do a job on them on the first day. And the other early kickoff is a London derby. I think you can class Watford as a London club, just outside.
Yeah.
Charlton, obviously coming up from League One, they came through the playoff, so they are the favourite to be straight back down. Charlton, Watford at the Valley. So again, another good tie. I mean, there's good ties all around, to be honest with you. I mean, it looks like a good opening weekend for the Championship. You've got a couple of clubs as well that are kind of going to be fighting for playoffs. Like you've got Norwich, Millwall, who will be around there. West Brom, Blackburn, again, both be looking playoffs. So some decent ties on the opening weekend.
Excellent. Okay, great. Right, do you want to? I know you're eager and keen to get on to having a look at Coventry in a bit more detail, like I was when we did the Premier League one. So I'll let you go on that.
So in terms of our first 5 or 6 fixtures, I'm pretty sure by the end of August we're going to be top of the league, mate, and that's some confidence.
We'll look at the fixtures, Luke. Look at the fixtures. You've got the Rams that I think is going to get relegated. You've got Hull City. You've got QPR, Oxford, Norwich. Norwich every now and then can be a tricky one, can't they? But
definitely Norwich. I think the fact we've got 3 home games in that first 5 games, so. Hull, Derby, Queen's Park Rangers, Oxford, Norwich. I would say 3 points against Hull, a point against Derby, 3 points against QPR, 3 points against Oxford, and then 3 points against Norwich. So I would be looking at pretty maximum points there, and if you do that, then you are right up there, and that's something that we haven't done for 3 or 4 years. Is start off well.
I was going to say last year, it was dire scenes. Well, that's why obviously Robbins won in the end. Because of how poorly you started the season, and Frankie came in. He's done a really good job, as we know. But you've started poor, isn't it? Last couple of seasons I was looking at.
2 or 3 years. We just haven't got going till sort of November time, and I think this with those fixtures, it gives us a perfect opportunity to get on the front foot straight away, because they are definitely some winnable ties. I think Derby is probably going to be the toughest game out of all them, in my personal opinion. But yeah, in terms of our general fixtures throughout the season, you often look at like difficult periods where you see teams in the sort of top 6 or 7, and you have them 2 or 3 games in a row. You have difficult teams, but we don't seem to have that throughout the whole season. I think we have two teams that are probably going to be around the top sort of 6, 7 in a row. But other than that, I think it's been quite favourable for us, and that just breathes optimism for myself and Coventry fans.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is, I mean, by the way, I think the Derby game is going to be 3 points as well, because I don't think they're going to do.
Let's hope.
But what you're telling me is that based on your fixtures, then it's going to, by the time we do the next rerun on the predictions, you're going to have come a little bit higher, perhaps, maybe in the automatic promotions now the fixtures are out.
No doubt, first I think. Champions.
Yeah, a few transfers on board. You'll have them sort of early promotion.
Yeah, I mean, okay. we definitely need to get some transfers in. Yeah, I won't talk too much about what we need, because obviously that'll be a different story. But yeah, if we have a good window, fixtures look favourable, we can only hope that we will be pushing towards the autos rather than scrapping around those 5th and 6th places, because it always gets a bit messy towards the end of the season.
Yeah, of course. Okay, great.
But yeah, in terms of everyone else, obviously you let us know who you support, and are you happy with your fixtures for the season? Are you happy with your opening day fixtures? What are your first 5 fixtures like? Are you looking forward to getting going?
Yeah, and again, I think, get in the comments. Do you think Luke thinks, believes these fixtures are going to be as easy for you Cov fans, or you think it's going to be a bit more difficult? Are you expecting sort of 9, 12 points out of those first 5 games, or are we expecting a little less? Let me know, because I don't know if Luke's sort of got a bit, over the top, or he's actually talking sense.
Me over the top,
put your thoughts
never.
in the comments, please. That would be great. Okay, everyone. So yeah, we're just going to close this week's podcast on doing a bit around sort of transfers, a little bit of gossip, and sort of any managerial changes that have happened during the week as well. So I'm going to start with the Premier League, and I'll let Luke sort of talk about the Championship. Brentford, new head coach, set piece coach as well, Keith Andrews, which I don't know what his previous experience is in obviously he's been part of the coaching setup at Brentford, but in terms of managing a team, I believe it's probably one of his first jobs and first goes at that. So get in the comments.
I like that, Sam.
You what? Sorry,
I like it. I like it that they're moving it from internal promotion.
Yeah,
I'd say that was.
They do it quite a bit, don't they? But they do it normally as part of almost like an interim manager, don't they? So they normally get a coach in, and then almost, okay, who can we get? But it looks, he's been appointed as the full-time position. So hopefully he does really well. Obviously, he'll know the players, won't he? Which is always a starting point. Getting to know your players, who you've got, getting them on board, which he probably has built that relationship already under Thomas Frank being there as he was before. Obviously, we're not expecting him to perform as well maybe as Thomas Frank did with his experience and what we know of him so far. I know you put
Give him a chance.
You put Brentford, didn't you, quite low down in the Premier League?
I did.
Predictions. Does that change your mind a little bit, or do you think that's made it even more concrete they're going to struggle?
Yeah, I think that sort of cements it a little bit more for me, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hope he does well. He was the tactical coach, wasn't he? I think
was he? I thought he was set piece coach. Okay, yeah, maybe.
Oh, you might be right. Sorry, one of the coaches. But yeah, I mean, if I don't know, you don't see it very often now. You normally bring in experience, don't you?
Yep.
To a club definitely in the Premier League. So yeah, I think that just kind of cements it a little bit that they are going to be in around that area of the league, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I think they are going to struggle. I really do. I think I had them at 16th, I believe. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I didn't have them in that battle. But I think I had them at sort of 15th, 16th. So yeah, I think they won't do. Yeah, so just moving on then from leading on from the Brentford discussion around the manager. Then Luke, we think they're going to struggle, and I know that. Losing and Bremo to United for 65 million probably isn't going to be, help that cause. I'm really happy with that signing. I'm really happy.
I bet you are.
Yeah,
very good
honestly,
player.
I'm over the moon, to be fair. I know it's been a bit of a dragged out thing again, where Tottenham were involved, weren't they? And it would look like it was going to perhaps go and join up with Thomas Frank at one point. But I'm honestly over the moon. I couldn't be any happier. 150k a week, which is something that I would want us to start paying for these type of players, proven in the Premier League. Not going, no need
Not
to be
300
250,
grand a
300
week.
grand a week like we've
Yeah.
done in the past. It looks like hopefully we're going to get that structure now in place above, from the board that is, let's pay realistic wages.
Yeah.
Let's not go and put ourselves in a position where we're forking out, millions and millions of pounds on players that are good players, yeah? So I think that you're playing for Man United, and
is that nearly done then? Is it? Where are you at with that?
I think we're
signing?
waiting for the medical to be arranged for next week, and I think it's just getting that dotted line signed. And I believe the transfer is pretty much confirmed. And from what I'm hearing and seeing on social media, it's that close now that it's not even worth talking about it not happening. So. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And then again, United fans, if you're listening, and I hope you are, who's next for United? We've Amarim's got 2 players in which I think are, look really, really good, could really be some great additions. Who do we want next? Is it, Gyökeres, coming into the squad? Could he be the real player that we need up top? And then, wow, what a transformation that is in 3 signings for us. Please, put some comments in there for me on that one. Moving on then, Arsenal, they've got quite a funny line in a minute. We've got Eze, haven't we? Wow. We've got Eze that's been talked about today. And I think Eze is probably the best of the bunch that have been talked about with Arsenal at the minute, I've got to be honest. He, for me, if we weren't going to get Mbeumo, I think Eze would have been a great signing. He looks really good. He looked great in the England setup more recently. And for Palace, he scores those important goals and he looks very, very good. My worry...
He's not a striker though, is he though, Sam?
Left wing,
the same thing again.
Cam. I'm not saying he's going to replace that forward. I think for them though, I think Martinelli is being carried at the minute. I've got to be honest. I thought he looked great when he first came in. I know he's only young still, but I don't think he's the player that we thought he was going to be. Not for me, certainly. Arsenal fans, again, if you think I'm wrong on that, please let me know. But Eze could fit quite again.
Sterling's he's gone back, hasn't he? Now he's gone back to
he has.
Chelsea.
I'm not sure what's happened at Chelsea with him. Actually, I've not heard about that, but he has. It was a loan, wasn't it? So he's gone back now. Yeah. They've lost him. Perhaps a bit of cover for Martinelli if they're thinking about that. But Eze's not a cover player for me. He goes straight in. I
mean, I don't get me wrong. Eze is a fantastic player, and he does walk. He walks into that Arsenal team, but it's the same again. Arsenal need a striker. They do. I know Eze can score goals, but he's just another wide man again. Like you say, Arsenal fans, get yourself in the comments. You'll be happy with the Eze signing, of course you will, but you still need a striker, in my opinion, and it's been the same for 2 or 3 years. That is what you're missing.
Well, I was just about to say on that one. In fairness, Luke, you're right. If they're going to pick up a really good, a really good striker this window, then whatever they get additional is I don't think he's really going to be talked about, because at the minute, Gabriel Bongnahor on TalkSport, and by the way, I'm not a massive fan, but I did see something come up earlier on TikTok and it made me laugh. They said that Arsenal was shopping at Asda at the minute and everyone else was shopping at Waitrose, and it sort of feels like that a little bit. They've signed Kepa from Chelsea. I don't think he's a bad keeper.
I know.
I don't think he's a bad keeper. I've got to be honest, as a bit of a backup. But, they're getting Kepa, they're getting Zubimendi, which, again, not an awful player. Not seen a lot of him, I've got to be honest, but a steady Eddie. Yeah, and then they've got Norgard coming in. So one for me that I want to talk about, and I've mentioned getting the comments, but please do, because it's another talking point for me, which is you're likely to lose Partey. I think you're not going to renew his contract now because the money was too much. But then you're going to go and sign, a player, Norgard. I think he's 30 or 31, and again, I might be wrong on that, but he's close to that age. He's close to age, and you're bringing him in to replace Partey for whatever that fee is. I think it's 11 million. Would you not be better off putting that money into paying those wages for Partey? I don't know. It might be something that, like you say, you want to talk about, or you think's the right move, bringing a fresh pair of legs, but I'm not sure they're that fresh. I've got to be honest.
I wonder if they're going to have transfer issues now, because I know, over the past 3 or 4 years, Edu's been their director, hasn't he, for recruitment, and he's not there anymore. So I don't know if it's perhaps a little bit more difficult for them, and then Arteta hasn't got that sort of backing and to go out and get the players that they need,
Yeah.
which is why we're seeing what's coming in.
I do want to see Arsenal get a striker because I've talked about that for a number of years. That two years at least. That
I think everyone has.
Yeah, with that striker, Luke. That we've talked about it already. That they're gonna be challenging, aren't they? So there we go. That's their signings and their updates for Arsenal. I think unless they go and get that big name striker, I think it's still a poor window for them at the minute. And we'll see what.
Guys, Gyökeres is available. He will get you 20 plus goals. Come on, seriously.
Pay the 65 million and get him over the line. One thing actually that might be putting them off, which I was going to mention a minute ago, would be the financial fair play. I know that United have been a little bit hesitant from what I'm hearing because the 1st of July, I believe, that then it then refreshes, doesn't it? And you can then go out and pay for those players again, or pay.
So maybe they're waiting.
It might be that. Yeah, it might be that. Yeah, Chelsea, Jamie Gittins, obviously that's an imminent signing, young prospect from Dortmund. He looks good actually on the wing. I've seen him a few times. Could be a good signing for Chelsea. I think that's going to be done probably this week, or I say this week, next week now. Newcastle, nothing really new for them other than 45 million bid for Elanga. Got rejected, didn't it? They want him, they're going to have to pay a little bit more, although I don't think Forest are wanting to sell him at all by the looks of the report. So that's them. So finally, a couple for you that have just come up from the Championship. Apologies if I get this name wrong. Leeds, a 20 million agreed fee for, is it Nikola Kristovic? Let me know.
Never heard of him. 20 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is from Nice, I believe. He looks to be looks okay. I've not read too much into him, I've got to be honest. So, but I've seen something's been agreed 20 million. Obviously, with that fee, you'd expect him to have bagged some goals. Striker as well. So, yeah, hopefully he's going to come in and make a difference for them. James Trafford out to Newcastle. I've seen that floating about earlier. I'm not sure how true that is, but you'd expect Burnley will try and keep full 2 gloves on him, wouldn't you? At least with them being in the Premier League now.
Very, very good. So
that was rubbish, wasn't it? It was rubbish, wasn't it?
No, I liked it. I don't know. I can't see James Trafford as an understudy though. Cannot. He's a fantastic up and coming keeper, and he can't be an understudy to Pope.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, if it was my choice, I think Trafford comes in and Pope goes out. I've never been a fan of Pope. I've got to be honest. I think he looks shaky on the ball, not great with his feet, in my opinion. And shot stopper, okay, yeah, he's not bad. But for Newcastle looking to challenge again, or going for those Champions League spots this year, I think they should go for someone with a bit of hunger. Yeah, he's young and he looks like a real deal, doesn't he? He looks like a good player.
So you'd say if that did go through, you'd say
sorry, Luke. Did he keep
he got the Golden Glove last season.
Yeah,
Golden Glove last season. I mean, you're probably right. He probably could walk into Newcastle and challenge Pope for that number 1 shirt straight away. He's a very good keeper.
Yeah.
But Burnley will dig their toes in there. I don't think that won't be easy.
No. Exactly that. So, that was me. That was my roundup, in fairness. A little addition for Brentford, new coach, and a bit of gossip and a bit of transfer speculation floating about. A couple more concrete than the others. But, there we are. And, sorry, Man City, obviously, signings are settling in really well. Have you seen they battered Bayern, didn't they, last night? Juventus.
Oh, did they?
Juventus. 5-2, I think it was, in the end.
Just moving on to the Championship then. There's been a couple of movements with the managers and a couple of transfers. I mentioned earlier when I was doing the prediction. Rob Edwards has gone to Middlesbrough. So I think that's a great appointment. He did very well at Luton. And AD Vivesh as well. He's the former coach at Coventry with Mark Robbins. Before the whole bust up between Robbins and Vivesh, they were a very good unit. So him going alongside Rob Edwards, I think that's a great appointment. And a good coaching staff. So I think that only benefits Middlesbrough and pushes them up the table. So that's quite an interesting move for them. I
remember Vivesh actually now at Coventry. I do, yeah. And they were very tight, weren't they? Him and Robbins. Very
tight knit, there was the 3 of them, and obviously something happened a year ago. We don't know the full details, but obviously they split up and AD left. He's got a job now at Middlesbrough, and I think they'll do a fantastic job there.
Okay, great.
So yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yep.
And then obviously Van Nistelrooy, which we touched upon a short while ago, he's obviously been let go of Leicester now. It's
Today,
strange for
wasn't
me
it?
that,
Today's
Sam.
news, live news today.
It was today. But why have you waited until we're nearly in July now to get rid of Van Nistelrooy? If you're going to get rid of him, why not get rid of him
they
straight
part
after the
ways,
season?
didn't they? Didn't they part ways?
Yeah, mutual agreement. It just seems bizarre because players are coming back now. Pre-season's about to start. They're about to get a 15-point deduction. They've now got no manager. They've got players wanting to leave left, right, and centre. It's not looking good for Leicester, and I am loving it.
I was going to say, you sound like you are. Your energy and your voice then completely changed.
Yeah. So Van Nistelrooy gone. So the early favourite is Danny Roll for Sheffield Wednesday. So
yeah, because they're in a bit of trouble, aren't they, at the minute, with transfer
with the transfer bans. Exactly.
Yeah.
What, so obviously
I'm getting good now, aren't I? I'm getting good.
Your knowledge is improving. I think by episode 10 you'll be chipping right in there.
I need you by
so
then.
Yeah, if Danny Rolls takes over Leicester, I mean that's bad news for Sheffield Wednesday. They will be in big trouble. But I can see that happening. We'll see. That might happen after the July. And if you say there's like a refresh of FFP, they've obviously Leicester are right in there with that, which is why they've got a 15-point deduction because they've been overspending.
Yeah.
So they'll be wanting to be very careful. So if that is the case, they might wait because Danny Rolls got a buyout clause. It was $5 million,
okay.
Which is why Southampton were going to, but then got put off by that amount. But it's now been halved to $2.5 million due to the issues with the chairman not paying his staff. So Leicester would have to pay $2.5 million to get Danny Roll. So yeah, they're the movers and shakers with the managers. In terms of transfers, the Birmingham City are about to sign Damari Gray. So played for Leicester when they won the Premier League.
Yeah.
And he's been playing out in
late 20s.
He is, yeah. I think possibly early 30s now, but he's been playing in Saudi Arabia for the past couple of years, earning a fat salary. But yeah, he's apparently a done deal.
That's good. Damari Gray was a real handful, weren't he, in the Premier League for Leicester? And even before that, I thought he looked great. Actually, obviously now that he's been away, we'll see what kind of Damari Gray we get back. But yeah,
exactly, yeah. But definitely he'll be. I think he'll still be able to do it in the Championship. He'll still have that quality, I'd imagine.
I think so.
So yeah, good signing.
Cool.
Carlton Morris as well, which we touched upon earlier.
I did.
He's gone to Derby.
Yeah.
I think a very experienced striker at this level, so that will only benefit Derby. Derby needed a striker.
Yeah.
So I think they've started well with the transfer window. Obviously, he's not going to stay with Luton in League One. He is better than League One, so you've got to say it's a good move for Carlton Morris as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, good signing for Derby. I think that for this week, I think there's not really much in terms of other transfers, player wise. Yeah. We'll see next week if there's any more movement.
Absolutely that, yeah. So, and that's probably come to the end of the podcast, I think, for this week. We're 2 weeks in. We've had some technical issues. We've had other issues going on this week. It's all been that, there you go, welcome to podcasting is what it's been this week, hasn't it, Luke? Welcome to podcasting.
Definitely.
So, we hope, obviously, you've all enjoyed it. Please get in the comments. We've mentioned it a few times now, and I hope it hasn't been too much, but we want to hear from you guys. Genuinely, we do. Put your thoughts in there. We've got some really good likes, like we mentioned at the start, and amount of likes, and we've got some good views and some shares, and I know a lot of people are getting involved from friends and family. So, yeah, we really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye.